What's going on, Broncos Country? We are going to get into a mailbag edition of the show. But first, week 2 right around the corner. Who you got? If it's the Broncos, hit the thumbs up icon. If you're going with the Texans, I don't know what you're doing, but put HOU in the comment section or just leave the channel. All right, now that we got all the Texans fans out of here, let's get into a mailbag. I put out a post on our community tab. We haven't done a mailbag in a little bit. Actually, it's been so long. We named this guy, and I forgot his name. Was it Clifford? I think it was Clifford, after the big red dog. But you guys ask questions. I answer them. That's how it works. So let's jump into the first question on today's show. It comes in from Colin Anderson. How much of an impact will not having Simmons be on defense over the next few weeks? Should we be worried, or will Caden Sterns step up? I'm not all that concerned about Caden Sterns. But anytime you lose your best player on one half of the football, that is concerning, right? You can have good depth, but Caden Sterns isn't an all-pro safety, okay? When you look at this safety room for the Broncos, Simmons on IR, he's going to miss the next 4 weeks. Kareem Jackson has to play cleaner. He was too sloppy in week 1 against Seattle with the penalties. Caden Sterns, Delaren Turner-Yell, the rookie out of Oklahoma. We know that Evero likes to run 3 safety sets. Might we see a different change of philosophy without that personnel? But to really answer your question here, Anderson, am I concerned about Caden Sterns? No, I thought he was great last season. When he was called on in 2021 to step in and have a bigger role, even back then with the Broncos, having a couple of 3 safety sets, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, some forced fumbles tossed in there as well, if I remember correctly. I'm excited to see Caden Sterns, but make no mistake, it is concerning not having Justin Simmons. Can the Broncos defense weather the storm? I think so. Hopefully we'll see him back on the field soon. This next question comes in from a mailbag like MVP at the channel, Binks Nigel. Nigel, I don't know how I pronounce it, but always asking questions. Do you think the offense will get the wide receivers more involved this time? Broncos Country for life. This is a good point that Binks raises because clearly Hackett's and Outen's offensive philosophy, or not philosophy, that's a tough word or the wrong word, but scheme rather, and game plan week 1 was we're going to kind of dumb it down-ish, sort of not let Russ cook all the way, okay? Jeudy, 7 targets, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. Courtland Sutton, he got his fair share of targets and receptions. But after those 2 guys, KJ Hamler had 1 target. That was about it on a deep ball. And you never saw any of the receivers make a play or let alone get a target. In fact, look at the overall top 5 receivers from week 1. Jeudy and Sutton at 1-2. That makes sense. Javonte Williams had 11 receptions. Andrew Beck, who had more receptions, targets, everything in this game than his entire career. He had 2 big plays for 52 yards. And then Albert Okwuegbunam and Troy Buck, he hated that name, 5 receptions for 33 yards. So are we going to see more of a receiver-heavy approach in this game? I think so, to really get back to the question, because the Broncos, I don't want to say they watched the video, but maybe they did. They clearly didn't want to let the crowd feast into the game too much. What better way to do that than set yourself up for 3rd and longs, right? They wanted to move the sticks. They wanted to take the plays, pick up some chump change and whatnot, and not try to go for the long ball. If it's incomplete or if it's intercepted, the fans really take control of this game. Now that they are at home and now that the incompletes are on their side, I think we'll see a bigger role for the wide receivers in this game against Houston. But help us out, speaking of week 2 here. We're trying to get to 9,300 subscribers before kickoff. Help me accomplish that goal. If you haven't yet, we need 61 of you guys watching. I know there's 61 people who are not subscribed who have not hit that button. YouTube Analytics, they fax me all that information. Hit that big red button and subscribe. All right, this question comes in from ESLOG with a good-looking sandwich right there. And I believe they said they live in Vietnam and they had to get up at like 7 a.m. to watch a clunker of a Monday night game. Okay. I don't know much about the Texans. You can give us, or can you give us a little info about primary players to look for? It seems they're a pretty bad team, but that's what I thought about the Seahawks too. I got you covered. Let's get sort of the cliff notes of the Houston Texans, starting with the offense. Davis Mills, long neck Mills, here's what I'll say about him. Had a bad start in 2020. He's quietly played very well the last 8 or 9 games going from this season into last season. Dameon Pierce is a 4th-round pick out of Florida. They love him. They actually love him so much, they cut all their other veteran backs, including Phillip Lindsay, to make room for Dameon Pierce. Brandon Cooks, O.J. Howard had 2 touchdowns for Houston in week 1. Watch for him because we know tight ends can be a nuisance to this Broncos defense. Cooks, though, going back to him, he's their best wide receiver. This is really the whole wide receiver game. They've got this second-round guy out of Michigan named Nico Collins. I'm not all that concerned. And then Laramie Tunsil, they don't have enough playmakers to have 5 guys on screen, so their best offensive lineman gets some love, but that should shape up for a rough go for Bradley Chubb. Now, on the Texans' defense, does it have a lot of household names? No, but it's got some gritty guys. Camus Grugier-Hill, he's a very talented outside linebacker who, talented, very is a strong word, but watch for him. I think he's a type of player that the Texans will have no primetime games this year, really, outside of like a Thursday night game. So no one's going to know these guys except for opposing fans that when they play the Texans, they go, who are these guys and why do not enough people know about them? Christian Kirksey, that's their main linebacker. He's pretty solid. Derek Stingley, that was their top pick in this past draft class. He is a very good corner out of LSU when healthy, and he has been healthy. Desmond King, he came over in free agency. He is solid. And then their second-round pick out of Baylor, Jalen Petrie. Listen, Stingley and Petrie, 2 very young players manning this defense. They are only going to get better as the weeks go along. Maybe it's better the Broncos get these guys early rather than later. Now, this Texans team. Not to really make them about the whole show, but I think it's worth pointing out that go back to last season, 2020, weeks 1 through 9, their offense scored 2 touchdowns a game. Their defense led up 4 touchdowns a game. Fast forward to after their week 10 bye, so week 11 to now, present day after 1 week of 2022, their offense averages 5 more points a game. Their defense is giving up 5 fewer points per game at 23.7. They have improved. The Texans were a dumpster fire to start last season, but quietly they are making strides. And we saw that in week 1 when they were able to tie the Indianapolis Colts. And if it wasn't for an absolute fourth quarter collapse, they would have knocked off the favorites to win the division at home. Don't overly sleep on the Houston Texans. We got a question coming in from Ray Vega. Do you think we should have less faith in Nathaniel Hackett? No, I don't think that you should get all the way that far in the spectrum of panic after 1 week. He is a first-year head coach. He's a young head coach. He made a big mistake. He owned that too, which I like to see. He was like, yep, we probably should have gone for it on 4th down. I am glad he is not sticking by the 64-yard field goal is the way to go when you have Russell Wilson as your quarterback. I am not overly concerned. I think what got lost in the loss on Monday night was that the Broncos defense shut out Seattle in the second half, and the Seahawks had negative 12 yards in the fourth quarter. That is great adjustment after Geno Smith started 15 for 15. The Broncos offense moved the football down the field. They just had 2 goal line fumbles. If those 2 fumbles are reversed for touchdowns, that's a 14-point swing. This is a very different conversation. Fumbles are something coaches cannot take control of. Getting your players in position to score, that's on coaches, which Hackett did. It was all pretty good up until, in terms of what Hackett can do, the decision, which was a bad one. I'm not very concerned. It's just 1 game. It was Seattle's Super Bowl, and the Broncos just fell on their face at the end. DeAndre Weatherspoon, you are next up on the show. How do they rebound or bounce back from a tough loss? Good question. I've got 3 tips for the Broncos to rectify and put that ugly Week 1 loss behind them. Number one, be aggressive in the first quarter, okay? In fact, we can pull up what the Broncos' first 10 plays were in that first quarter and why I think they should go a different direction against Houston. Number two, hone in on Dameon Pierce. Davis Mills, I was thinking of a pitcher, Alec Mills. Davis Mills is not going to beat you. If he does, we've got big issues with a secondary featuring PS2 and Ronald Darby. Now, Dameon Pierce, they're very high on him in Houston. Don't let him beat you. Alex Singleton, I thought actually had a pretty good game. I thought he played better than Jonas Griffith. He makes that one sack too. Then that Will Dissly touchdown never happens, and a very different conversation. He missed one sack and big game. Better discipline. The Broncos had 12 penalties in Week 1. Luckily, they'll be at home. The fall starts, the delay of games, those should go away, and they have to go away. But let's bring up Patrick. We're going to do some host-producer work on the fly here. We've got the first 10 plays scripted from Week 1. Let's throw that on here because I want to go back to point number one. Aggressive first quarter here. The Broncos to start, we have them? First 10 plays? No? Yeah, okay. You guys get to see behind the scenes here. So the Broncos to start Week 1 did exactly what I wanted them to do, which was don't come out here and swing for the fences on the first play and it ends up being a disaster and it feeds into their momentum. No. This go around, I got a different mindset. Okay? Look at the first 10 plays against Seattle. Short pass, incomplete. Short pass to Beck. He took it the distance for like 25 yards. A run to Williams. A deep pass to Beck. A run, short pass, false start, run, short pass, field goal. Only one real risk-taking play, and that was play number 4. First down, Broncos from their own 25, first and 10 to start the game. 4 verts, baby, right? Let's let Russ cook. You're at home now. You have hopefully shaken off the cobwebs of not playing in the preseason and getting rattled early at Lumen Field. Let's give Broncos Country something to watch and cheer about. That's what Hackett said he wanted to do when he got fired. We're going to have some fun. We're going to score some points. Let's see it, baby. Let's see KJ Hamler fly down the sideline. Let's see Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton get a healthy dose of targets in the first quarter. Let's pepper this Texans secondary. Let's come out and punch them in the mouth if I'm Nathaniel Hackett, right? Let's not approach this the same way. And I didn't have an issue with being a little bit more conservative against Seattle because you know the emotions are there. This is not a regular game. This game against Texans, a little more cookie cutter. And you're a better team. Play like it. So if you are not giving up on the Broncos after just one loss, as you should not be, give me a let's ride down in the comment section because Broncos Country, let's ride.